nothing can stop you, especially these days, right? Like, people are starting to wake up to how a lot of the institutional gatekeeping is not real, and there's a lot of companies out there just like, I don't give a fuck about any of this stuff. Are you capable of are you resilient and hardworking? Are you capable of learning? Then we can find it. We can find whatever it is you're looking for here, right? That's what a good manager does anyways. It's a lot easier to train somebody to build a widget than it is to train them to be a tough person.
Let's go.
Welcome to Citizen. We got a special guest today from OA Defense, Paul Ross. Where are you in from today?
So I live out in North Carolina right now, just outside of Fort Bragg still.
Oh, really? Why Fort Bragg?
Retired out of Bragg, and about the same time COVID hit, and we had big plans, and then the truth of the matter was we just couldn't come up with a better town to raise our kids in.
So where do you live? Like Rayford or Southern?
No, so actually Carthage.
Carthage, okay.
Yeah, got a little cattle ranch out there, and then spend most of the time in Southern Pines, Pinehurst.
And you retired in 2020?
I did, January 2020.
You just beat a lot of the nonsense.
Yeah, thankfully.
Yeah, although it was already getting kind of weird before that. What'd you do in the military?
So I was in 275 2nd Ranger Battalion originally, and then after my 2 years there and the war kicked off, I went to selection and then spent the rest of my career in 7th Group. And after my team sergeant time, I came into SWCC to do my divorce tour and get my life, figure out what I want to be when I grow up.
Well, that's probably convenient because they moved down to Florida at some point during that whole period, so you didn't have to uproot your family.
Yeah, so I made the Florida move.
Oh, you did? Then you had to come back?
I made the Florida move, came back as a single dad, and, we could talk about how it sucks, but it worked out good for me.
Yeah. Well, let's go back to the beginning. Where did you grow up?
Grew up in a little town just outside of Memphis called Bartlett, a little suburb, and Memphis just wasn't hitting on a whole lot for me. I wasn't really a good kid or a good student, so jumped ship, joined the Army as fast as I could, and got my ass straightened out real fast when I got to bat.
What did you have a Ranger contract?
I did.
And how'd that go at the recruiter's office? You obviously didn't get duped like some people did.
No, I didn't. I kind of knew what I wanted to do growing up, so out there, it's right by the Raleigh Springs, or what used to be the Raleigh Springs Mall. All the recruiters were in like a strip mall, all right next door to each other, right? So I went to the Navy recruiter first, and I was like, "Hey, man, I want to be a SEAL." And he's like, "You got to pick a job, and then maybe one day you can go try out." And I was like, "That didn't work for me."
Yeah.
I went next door, was the Army recruiter office. And I was like, "Hey, I want to be a Ranger." He's like, "Yeah, bro, sign right here." And it was that easy.
I mean, it's the same kind of deal, I guess, technically, if you don't make it through everything, they just ship you out to wherever the fuck.
That's right, wherever Mother Army needs you.
That's always good. So you say you always knew what you wanted to do when you grew up. Why is that? Did you have family in the military, or what was it?
I didn't. My dad was an anti-war hippie back in Vietnam days, and I don't have a real reason why. Maybe too much TV, too many books. But I liked being outside, and just no particular reason. That's what I was drawn to, and I think as far back as I can remember, that was the life I had planned out.
What was it like growing up in that area in Tennessee? I mean, I've really spent, the only time I've spent through Memphis is getting the fuck out of it, to be honest.
Yeah, man, you come for the barbecue and you stay because you got murdered, right?
Yeah.
I don't remember it being as bad as it is now, but you're a kid too, right? Like you're not paying attention, and the world's your oyster. I wrestled, I swam, rodeoed, and that was kind of my life. I didn't really discover girls or nightlife until after high school, and otherwise I was just ready to go. I still talk to maybe a handful of people from back then, but it's one of those places where everybody's still there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's true. And then you went to, obviously you go to Benning for a little while. And then did you do airborne there as well before you?
I did. So, you do the trek on down to airborne school and hang out there, and then you get picked up at airborne school and you do the run down to the RIP barracks, because it was RIP back then.
Yeah.
And I'd put in, you do your wish list, and I think I'd put in like third bat, first bat, and they're like, second bat, that's the place for you.
Yeah, go to the West Coast.
The thought process at that time was to get you as far away as from where you're from, and it worked out. I talk to kids all the time, and I'm like, hey, man, whether you join the military or not, leave your hometown.
Yeah.
If only for a year, leave and go live somewhere else.
Yeah, I always thought that the Army has that hometown recruiting program. That is fucking... I would love to see the stats on how many of those dudes get Article 15s. It's got to be high, right?
They do.
I mean, it's like the barracks are bad enough, but at least you can contain that shit. Like if you've got decent NCOs, they can pretty much keep your guys out of jail.
Right. You got barracks discipline, right?
Yeah. Like just whip somebody's ass. Yeah.
That's exactly right.
But if you're 18 or 19 running around with a uniform on in your hometown, that's not good news, man.
No, it's not. And I remember, Private Ross back in the day, I got busted at the on-base bar using my buddy's ID.
Oh, yeah.
The night before I went to Ranger School. And so I just jetted, right? Like got on the bus and went, and finished 0 week, called back, like, hey, because you got to give your status updates. And guy Mike Shook was my squad leader at the time, and he's like, hey, man, did you get in trouble the night you left? I was like, yes, Sergeant. And he's like, don't come home without your tab. I'm like, understood.
Yeah, that'll fix it.
That'll fix it real quick.
Yeah, as long as it did. But wasting money will not be looked kindly upon by anybody. So you went to Washington. Then did you guys do any deployments before you went back and did school?
We did. We were the feint for the trip I did. So when 3rd Battalion went in to actually take Kandahar Airfield, we were in Jordan, pretending like, or at least we all thought we were going to go. And so I was pretty bitter. Came back, did train up for Best Ranger, did Best Ranger, met a guy.
That's going on right now, isn't it? Or
yeah.
Next week, maybe?
Next week, I think. Yeah. Met a guy that I was in Ranger School with who was a group guy, and he was, because you're an E4, you don't know anything anyway. No. And he's like, how was it? And I was like, oh, man, it was great. We're down there for 6 months just training on stuff we need to work on. So we'd sit down on Friday and map out the next week's training. He's like, yeah, so it's like being on team. I'm like, no, you don't understand. You guy that's been in the Army for 18 years, don't know what you're talking about. Listen to me. I've been here for a whole 18 months. Yeah. And talking to him, I realized what team life on an ODA was like. And that was that. They were getting after it, and I was gone. Next selection class.
So you're 2 years in, give or take?
Give or take, yeah.
And you spent, I guess, 16 years in an ODA, unless you retired after 20.
No,
it takes about 2 years.
I ran about 20. So I would have gotten to a team in beginning of 04 and left the teams in 16. And then finished up.
Oh yeah, you went to SWIC for a while.
Yeah, did my obligatory time in SWIC.
How was that?
So I left and I took over the weapons committee. I was 18 Bravo committee chief.
Sweet.
And you talk about like the best after your team sergeant time job, because you're basically right back to having your own team.
Yeah, and you get to write the curriculum for the Bravo course to some degree at least. You have serious input on that. You
influence the curriculum. You influence not just theirs, but like NSW's curriculum. There's some paramilitary organizations. You influence their curriculum, and you start to feel like you're having a greater impact than just shooting some dirt farmer in the middle of the night.
Yeah. Everybody certainly goes through that. Well, a lot of people go through that.
Yeah.
to include ground branch and so on. What would you say that you changed or added to the course? Because there's some stuff that is always there, like the basics, and then foreign weapons and shit like that. You just got to cover that stuff. But what do you think? What was it you changed?
So specifically to the Bravo course, I think the only thing I really did and really focused on was bringing the various communities together. Whether it was NSW, whether it was GRS, ground branch, everybody kind of just coming together and sharing notes and talking about their experiences across the board. Did that for about 18 months, and then I got voluntold to be the student company first sergeant. So now I have every kid in the entire Q course. And that was when we're talking about like the silliness of, that's when the changes began. And there was some right and wrong on both sides, whether it's cadre side or leadership side. And about, I wouldn't even say a full 6 months, maybe 8 months max. I've always been told when you are ready to leave the Army, you will know. There'll be no question in your mind. Yeah. And I knew. I was like, man, this is it. It's time to retire.
Yeah, unfortunately, or fortunately, whatever, for me, I was in the 82nd, and our next 2 deployments were to train Afghan Army and then Iraqi police. And I'm like, fuck that.
Right.
I joined the infantry to go fuck shit up, so I'm out of here, right? And
I'm here to go murder shit and blow things up.
Yeah, it was very disappointing because it would have been nice to it would have been nice to go to Afghanistan as well, because I spent all my time in Sadr City, but it would have been nice, but that it is true, and then I feel bad for guys who enlisted in the mid-90s, did their tour and got out because they all feel like assholes. They're like, damn, man, I should have fucking stayed. I'm like, well, you don't get to pick when we're at war. I mean, if you stay in for 10 years in America, you'll be in a war somewhere for sure, right?
Absolutely.
That's just kind of how we operate. But it is weird how that works out, like the timing and stuff. Sometimes it fucks you, and sometimes it's like, oh, that worked out.
Yeah, and one of the things I would say is I don't think that anybody ever retires or ETS is happy, right? You got out for a reason. And then a couple of years later, you're looking back on it. It's like, man, that was just one bad CG in a otherwise amazing, fun career. I truly had a good time in the Army.
Yeah, I did. I mean, well, not in garrison. Being in the 82nd in garrison is not the funnest thing because you got to stay off the grass.
Right.
Can't put your hands in your pockets ever, even when you're sleeping. It's kind of gay over there, but with some of that stuff. But being deployed is great because everybody's actually good at what they're doing.
Yeah.
You go fuck shit up. You know what I mean? Everybody
is good at what they're doing. Everybody's got, to some degree, the same value system, right? And so and you have that blind trust within your squad or your team, where it's like, hey, man, if you tell me you're going to go do something, I don't have to question whether or not you're going to do it.
Yeah, that's something that doesn't really translate to the real world, unfortunately.
No, and that's been a hard lesson to learn.
What was it like? So you went through selection, you said, in...
so it was 03.
03, yeah.
Yeah.
Then you went back to SWCC as a senior. So what do you think changed between that time period?
The politics and the size and the scope.
It got bigger.
Yeah, it got way bigger, and it got way more top driven. And I think there was a lot of standard creep within the cadre because everybody's trying to live to somebody else's version or their own created version of what happened. And about that same time, basic training changed a lot of what they were doing. So you had kids showing up that didn't know how to pack a ruck. When you're sitting there and you're like, hey, man, your food goes at the bottom, batteries and bullets go to the top. And they're like, well, I don't understand. I'm going to eat. And it's like, having to explain, we don't blouse our boots on the inside of our boots. We tie them on the outside. There's a reason for that. Just those basic soldiering skills disappeared. And so from a cadre standpoint, you're way behind. And then from a society standpoint, everybody's entitled showing up. well, you have to pass me. No, I don't. You earn your pass or fail on your own. And then you'll have dudes, they're scared of guns, scared of weapons. They didn't grow up with guns around the house. It's different for them. And they're definitely afraid of having to actually use it. Whereas you and I grew up praying for that day.
Yeah. I mean, shit. Still pray for that day,
exactly.
to be honest.
Right.
Yeah, it's weird, man. The pipeline, as it were, isn't. It's out to some degree. Like the DoD comes in for a lot of heat, but to some degree, it's out of their control because you get a raw kid at first. You can only do so much with somebody that's a fucking pussy.
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, certainly we had a couple when I was in basic, and they just got the shit kicked out of them until they either grew up or went the fuck away.
Right.
It's got to be one of those two things, and that sounds harsh, but it's better than them dying or getting their buddies killed. You know what I mean? Because that's what'll really happen if you let them slide.
Yeah, and the shitbag never gets himself killed, right? It's always the good dude on the team that he gets killed. And it may be me over there.
Oh, yeah,
I put it on silent over there for a reason, but it's not working.
It's fine. Can't hear it on camera.
The dang on, it's just different. These kids show up. They didn't grow up playing in the woods. They didn't grow up playing war. They didn't grow up, like we were talking, I don't know how it was for you growing up, but when I was a teenager, it was, hey man, here's a fishing hook, some line, and 2 matches. It's Friday morning. I'll see you on Sunday night.
Yeah. Yeah, I grew up in South Carolina, so.
Okay, where
at? Greenville. Okay. Well, actually near more closer to Clemson. But,
so are you a Gamecock or a Tiger?
I don't give a fuck. I went to Penn State. So
Fair enough.
I don't get involved in that. But they definitely care.
Yeah.
a lot. There's a lot. I think there's more T-shirt fans of those two teams than any other two teams other than Notre Dame. Notre Dame's got the most by far just because they're Catholic, but there's so many people that have no relationship to the schools that are like, fuck you. I'm like, all right, cool, man.
My wife went to South Carolina, and the very first book our kids got was How to Burn the Clemson Tiger on opening day. I'm like,
yeah, well,
a little different.
Good to have a guide, I suppose.
Yeah, that's right.
We certainly we were latchkey, not helicopter parent, right? So it's like food's in the fridge, good luck.
Right.
Was kind of the attitude. I'm like, all right, cool. There's probably a better way to go about it than that too, but we certainly overcorrected in a way that's become detrimental to kids. I mean, it's nonsense the way that we treat these guys now, and there's two a couple of different outcomes. One of them is it's called omnipotence parenting, and that's where you respond to everything the kid ever does, and they come out of it thinking that they're royalty. Like, all right, cool. We've all met that guy. He's a fucking asshole. You know what I mean?
Right.
And sometimes they're successful and sometimes they're not. But regardless, the idea of accountability for them is not a thing. You know?
And that blows my mind. And to me, it's one of the hardest things to teach your kid is everything you do matters. Don't half-ass it. If you're going to do it, if it's worth doing, then do it correctly. But, it's a different world. We didn't have cameras and phones everywhere you went.
That's certainly a lot of things can get settled at the lowest level when there's not a third party watching.
Right.
And that's another thing. One of the detriments of the modern world, I guess, is I think the biggest outcome from all this is that nobody in these younger two generations know anything about lower level conflict resolution, right? Like there's some issue and you and this dude's has an issue and you just gotta, I mean, when I was in school, the gym teacher would be like, all right, here's some boxing gloves, you guys fight. He didn't call anybody's parents. It's like, you guys fight or shut the fuck up.
Absolutely.
We don't have time for this. We got stuff to do today. So you can either fight and settle it and then shake hands, or you can shut the fuck up. Those are your two options. And now it's just like, you got to have a parent-teacher conference and some lobbying group gets involved or something. Like, what are you talking about?
Let them have at it.
Yeah, just let them beat the Christ out of each other. It'll be fine. But instead, what you see is from all this protectionism, we haven't seen safer schools. We've seen less safe schools because of it, right? Because without the low-level conflict resolution, it naturally escalates. That's how things work. So I don't know what they expected to happen here. It's really dumb, the way that these people think that life's just all going to work out.
Well, those are the same people that can't pay their own student loans.
Yeah. It's mind-boggling to me. And then so back to the military part, you know, it isn't even just the psychology of these kids or even the lack of resilience. Those things are problematic. But the Marine Corps is giving kids B12 and calcium when they come through basic training now because their bodies are shit too. And it's part of it is it's hard to put a finger on exactly what the root causes are. I know, and this is for the hormone level. So the average 21-year-old male in America has the same level of testosterone today that their grandfather had in 2001, right? 40% decrease. And there's a lot of factors, I guess, microplastics and toxic exposure and heavy metals, hormones in food, stuff like that. But I wonder if it isn't also the way that we treat the kid, the male child, and masculinity in general, because you know this. You take domesticated hogs, and put them out in the woods, and they will start to develop their wild features again.
Right.
Tusk will grow.
Right.
And not in the next couple of generations, but that specific animal, right?
Absolutely.
It happens very quickly. And the inverse of that is true too. Now, depending on the species, it happens over time. We selected dogs based on friendly features, so we have a lot of dogs now that have friendly features. So it works in both ways, and I feel like there's probably something to the fact that we've treated them like pussies that are turning them into pussies.
I think so. And the Marine Corps did, it would have been like around 14 or 15. The Marine Corps did a really good study when they went into women in combat studies. And it wasn't just that the female body, when it came to load bearing, would break down much faster than the male body, but that the male body now compared to the male body back in our grandparents' age would break down significantly faster. We're just not as tough or as hard as they used to be.
That's weird. I mean, it makes sense. We're not outside, but I was. A lot of people still are, but man, yeah, we're in rough times right now. We're not doing these kids any favors either.
No.
I don't know why. John Adams said once that I have to study war and politics so that my sons can study economics and whatever, so that their children can study art and literature. It's like, well, maybe we shouldn't have been on that track. Like, I'm not saying don't study art and literature, but go outside and chop some wood in between books. You
Absolutely.
know what I mean? Like, just be a balanced human being.
Absolutely. Be able to take care of yourself. And I think we got away from, and I'm not going to speak for everybody, but for me specifically, I'm a big believer in traditional roles. As the man, you are the provider and protector of your family. As the woman, you're the nurturer of your family. But there comes a point where those kids have to get outside and start learning how to protect and provide.
Yeah.
And there's I can't remember whose quote it was, but I know you've seen it, where we talk about hard times, or hard men create soft times. Soft times create weak men. Weak men create hard times. And it's this vicious cycle. And I think unfortunately, we've lived long enough to watch it come through, and it just seems to be a bigger pendulum swing this time around.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't know. I mean, there was some stat that popped up last year that something like 70% of American males from 17 to 25 would be incapable of completing basic training. Basically, they wouldn't qualify. Some of them wouldn't even qualify, but most of them wouldn't be able to complete it. Which to a civilian might sound like, oh well, I mean, it's not tough. Basic training, if you're upright, you should be able to complete it, frankly.
Right.
Unless you have a major injury, you should be able to complete it. It's not difficult. I mean, what's the longest you ever ran, even when you were getting smoked or something, maybe like 3 miles, and basically you don't run that much. You ruck a little bit, but in the infantry school, it's really only
the annual 5-miler.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, even like in basic, and it's only from the last field problem, you go up to the hill and get your cord and all that shit. I mean, that was the longest one that I remember the whole time I was there. It's like, okay, well, that wasn't that difficult, to be honest. Even though we were sleeping outside for 2 weeks leading up to it, it was still like, I mean, it sucked because it was raining, and rucking sucks in general, right? But it wasn't like my body wasn't broken down. I didn't need a recovery week afterwards or whatever the fuck. It wasn't like running a marathon and your toenails popping off. It was just a ruck. It wasn't that big a deal.
You got your blue Kool-Aid and your blue cord, you were good to go.
Yeah. Well, Honor Hill, then you get a little juiced up out there for sure. Because dudes that have been screaming at you for the last 3 months are now shaking your hand and shit. So there's definitely part of it that's attitude, but the point is, basic's not very difficult. And if you're an average, like if you're a high school athlete of any sort, or even playing non-varsity athletics in your spare time, you can do it.
100%.
Right? Or I thought. But apparently that's not the case, which makes you wonder, what shape are these people in exactly that they can't complete basic training?
Yeah, and I wonder sometimes, and I've talked to, like, I'm super fortunate. I'm still in the Bragg community, right? And I have a lot of guys that were my senior that are in high-level positions. My first fire team leader when I was in Ranger Battalion is now CSM, looking at being up there kind of in the CSM of the Army realm, probably, if he sticks around and get looked at for it. And we were talking about that. I was like, hey, the Army's got a recruiting problem. He's like, no, we don't have a recruiting problem. We have an attributes problem.
What does he mean by that?
And the guys that are available don't have the attributes that they're looking for. And I think that comes down to a mental capacity, right? When it sucks, you suck it up and do it anyway. And I think today's younger generation doesn't have that drive, like, I'm going to complete this no matter what. Because if you think back in your career, the best times of your career were after that really shitty ruck or movement, and now we're sitting in the barracks cleaning guns, drinking beer, laughing about how bad that sucked.
I mean, that's just how it goes.
Yeah.
You know, it's most of the enjoyment from that process is done in the, as you said, in the wake of something difficult. And it doesn't read as a celebration necessarily, but that is kind of what it is.
It really is.
Which is odd. It's an odd thing to celebrate. That sucked for a while.
Yeah, that was a miserable 3 days.
But we never were celebrating like, oh, I'm glad that's over. It was never, I'm glad that's over. It's like, can you believe that fucked up shit happened? Right. What about Johnson over there falling off the truck or whatever stupid shit happened? It's always something like that. And it's interesting. It kind of, I think it's important for human beings, regardless of status, country, what job they do, to define themselves by overcoming rather than seeing themselves as someone that something happens to, right? And it's really just victimhood, right?
Absolutely.
You either, like, I'm the guy who was able to do this difficult thing and I was fine and maybe I excelled at it, or this difficult thing happened to me and now I'm dealing with the fallout from that. Like, no, you're a fucking pussy, right?
Right.
I mean, that's what, and you get to the big lie is that it's some kind of personality trait. No, you get to choose. You're the one 100%. That chooses. It's like basic Adlerian psychology. You get to choose how you see yourself in the world and whether you focus on the past, present, or future, or some combination of those things. And there's nothing, this is a hard reality for a lot of people who have bought into this new social currency of victimhood to swallow. But nothing that's happened in your past stops you from doing one goddamn thing right now. Right.
You are and spot on.
Here's how I know that, because I have friends with no legs who are still doing more shit physically than I am. right? Because they choose to, period.
Which is bullshit, because back in the day we could beat any one of them in a 2-miler, but now they got their springy legs and they're a lot faster.
It is very irritating. I'm going to start tripping those guys or something. I don't know. But yeah, it's like we used to, as a culture, we used to define ourselves by our resilience. And the same conversations are had at the bar after working in the coal mine, or working on back in the bunkhouse after working on the ranch, or in the team room after going on a fucking difficult operation. It's the same conversation with the same kind of dudes every single time for thousands of fucking years. And now this hard to say if it's like some kind of infiltration really, or if we just got soft. You know what I mean? I don't know if it matters, because the answer's still the same. Just stop doing that and do the right thing now. You know what I mean? Right.
No matter what your problems are, and we've all got friends that no matter what we've been through, they've been through worse, right? Hey man, if your PTSD is bad, I get it. Call a bro, or do what I do and stick it down in a box real tight and never talk about it again. But your problems do not excuse you into being an asshole or a bitch for the rest of your life, right? Be a man, go on and move about your life. You still have responsibilities that you have to accomplish.
Yeah, I mean, you're not the first. I mean, and it spreads across pretty much every facet of your life, from your personal life to your professional life. You think you're the first person that failed at something? Are you the first person that got banged up a little bit? Are you the first person that was wrong publicly and now you're embarrassed? No, it happens to everybody at some point, and to some people it happens quite a bit worse than it will ever happen to you. And you get to choose. You get to choose whether or not this is what I've always told these fucking people, even my own soldiers. I'm like, nobody can stop you from putting one foot in front of the other. That's your choice. Every step you take is your choice. So choose to do it or not. But if you're not going to do it, get the fuck out, because we don't want you. You know what I mean?
No, you're spot on. And then it segues into real life and business, right? And you've been there, like, and guys go, you run into that dude and they're like, oh, you're so lucky. Like you did this. And it's like, dude, I have failed more times than you've tried. It's got nothing to do with luck. It's somewhere in society we decided that you failing was a bad thing because everybody's going to point and laugh at you. Bro, get back up and try again. What's the worst that'll happen? You fail again? You've already done that once. Try it again.
Yeah, and I like those, or that statement, your boos mean nothing to me because I've seen what you applaud. I think it's from Rick and Morty, actually. But, yep, 100%. I don't give a fuck what you think, dude, because it doesn't have any. It's not that I don't. Some people, maybe I respect you. I still don't give a shit what you think, because unless you're adding some kind of information that's going to help me move my shit forward, then I just don't care, because it has no relevance to me. That's your opinion and you're entitled to it. Go for it, dude. Live your life. But I just have nothing to gain from any of that.
And I think, when you talk about guys transitioning from the military or law enforcement and then going into the business sector, we say this all the time. Like, I'll hire a guy based off of his value systems. If his values align with ours, we'll find the right job for you. But you got to be a man, and you got to want it, and I got to know that you're going to work no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I ended up at Black Rifle. I was working at Homeland Security doing intel, and I was like, I got to get the fuck out of here. And Jared hit me up and he goes, why don't you come work for Black Rifle? I was like, I don't know shit about coffee. He's like, well, we'll figure it out. I'm like, all right, cool. And I was the VP of marketing like 6 months later. Nothing can stop you, especially these days, right? Like, people are starting to wake up to how a lot of the institutional gatekeeping is not real. And there's a lot of companies out there just like, I don't give a fuck about any of this stuff. Are you capable of... Are you resilient and hardworking? Are you capable of learning? Then we can find it. We can find whatever it is you're looking for here, right? That's what a good manager does anyways. And it's, it's a lot easier to train somebody to build a widget than it is to train them to be a tough person. Yeah. Right? It takes a lot longer to make somebody tough than it does like train them how to assemble something or perform some task or anything like that. And speaking, since you brought it up, business, you're the CEO of OA Defense. Are you the only founder? Was it just you? Or
No, man, I came in after the fact. So I retired, contracted for a few years for the agency because I bought the bullshit lie that was the only six-figure job I'd ever have. Then let's be honest, when the war was on, it was fun. When the war ended, it wasn't fun. So I basically, I did give the middle finger resignation, and rolled out, went home, told my wife, I was like, hey, I'm just going to cowboy for 60 days, and that's all the money we have in the bank, and then maybe Lowe's or Home Depot's hiring. And about a week into that, a former commander called and was like, hey, man, I got a guy that's starting his own gun company, and we want you to come work for him as a consultant. Mm-hmm. And
you're a pretty big get in that regard. I mean, not that you're an engineer or anything, but you did help design some of these courses. Like somebody like you or Evan, for example, who did the carbine course for GRS and shit like that. Yeah. People like, you got to have a bunch of different pieces to make a quality firearm. You have to have engineers that know what they're doing, but you have to have gunfighters that know what they're doing too, because you can make the prettiest gun of all time, but if it's not ergonomic and it's giving me trouble, reload or whatever, then the gun community will light your ass on fire, dude.
Oh, the gun community is
They're worse than nerds. Like, you get Star Trek and Star Wars mixed up and you're going to get a little tiff out of that, but if you fuck up gun stuff, look at what happened to SIG with that 320. You know what I mean? Like, you get lit the fuck up.
It stops today. And I hate it for
I'm carrying a SIG right now, but not a 320.
Right? Well, we probably need to get you updated then. Yeah, it was different. And so I met the guy, Mr. Bennett, who was one of the original four. And he was the business brains behind the operation. And so he was like, hey, man, I want you to consult for this, and I want you to consult for, he had a chemical company at the time, and or still does. And I was like, listen, man, I had to cheat to get through chemistry, and you ain't got the right last name to make it in guns. So let's just save each other trouble. And he's like, well, that's what I need. I need somebody that's going to give me brutal honesty. And I'm like, well, shit, I'm your guy all day long.
Plenty of that, yeah.
Like that's my calling in life, right? And so I helped, went out there. I was supposed to be the guy that poo-pooed all over the original models. And I went and tested them, and they were great guns. They really were. You're
talking about the 2311 specifically?
The 2311 specifically.
I'm seeing a lot of smoke around that over the last 18 months or so. A lot of people are talking about it.
Yeah, I like to bring up a little bit of controversy. There's some tiffs going on with some of the other manufacturers.
One here in Texas that's just north of here, maybe?
Yeah. That they can't innovate shit anymore. But, you know.
I don't know anything about any of that.
Yeah. So I started working for Mr. Bennett, worked for him for quite a while, and then a little over a year ago, there was just him and one of the other original founders were still running the show. And he was like, hey, man, we've crossed this barrier where we're not this little startup anymore. We need to start moving into being a big kid company, and I need you to come in and take the reins and move us to the next level. And you know how it is. Like, they're like, oh, I'm going to hire you to go do this. And you're like, hey, man, that's not, like, I'll do it, but it ain't me.
Yeah.
It's a whole team of the right people that make that happen. So right now we are shutting down the Nevada factory, and we're moving it to North Carolina, where I can have all the talent right at the tip of my fingers and bring in the next era of what the 2311 is going to be and do.
And what's that?
We are looking at that race to always be flatter and faster.
When you say flatter, you mean?
I mean in recoil management, right? If you can be the flattest gun in the world, you're automatically going to be faster.
Yeah, that's why I like, this is Sons of Liberty Gunworks. It is my favorite rifle that exists. It's my favorite, I don't even know what you call these. It's my favorite scary gun rifle.
Sure.
I love Christensen for long guns, but I can, no matter what caliber I've shot in this is 300 blackout, but no matter what caliber I've shot in it, I can put round after round after round on target without losing my sight picture ever.
Yeah.
I mean, I had some I don't even know what they call themselves anymore, Delta guys. A couple of years ago, come out and start and shoot a bunch of these things, and they're like, "What the fuck? Why doesn't it jump?" I'm like, "I don't know anything about engineering, dude. All I know is that this gun fucking puts rounds on target."
Because somebody put a lot of time and effort, and back to the original part of this conversation, somebody failed a lot of fucking times
probably
to make
some
that
shit up too. To be honest, there's a lot of moving parts in that, and then with a rifle, it's one thing. With a handgun, to get flat is something entirely different because you're only working. You got a lot of kinetic energy, and you're only working with about 6 to 8 inches of steel. Mm-hmm. So good fucking luck.
So you're running 4.5 to 5, and then you have to. You can't just be a gun. Like, what makes you different? And then you sit down, and so the original 4, they said, hey, we want a gun that any young police officer and any young soldier who, let's be completely honest, are woefully underpaid. We want a gun that they can buy and use it as their EDC or their duty gun, but it's also good enough that it can run in competitions and hold its own. And so as a part of the cost-cutting measures is where we adopted the 320 mag, because the Army had just adopted the SIG, and then 2, the ergonomics of the way that magazine is angled made it fit in the gun better and be able to cycle and run flatter.
Yeah. And then, this isn't the first time a gun company's done something like this, by the way. Pretty much everybody that makes AR platforms did that because the AR platform existed already. It's just like 5.56 NATO. Okay, you're going to standardize something? Well, that's what I'm going to make then, because you'd be dumb not to, frankly. Right. But nobody else in handguns has done this yet.
No,
it's kind of shocking, to be honest.
The handgun world is weird, right? And so you have to, and I'll tell you, man, like the day I got tapped, my very first phone call was to Maddie Nelson and Glenn Seekins out at Seekins Precision, where I'm like, hey, man, I just got this job. I'm hopping on a plane to come out and talk to you. What the fuck do I do? And we really defined it down to what are the company values and what are the goals you're trying to accomplish, right? So our corporate values are faith, family, and freedom. To be on our team, you have to align with those values and not just talk about it, but do things. And then for our goals, an affordable gun that's flatter, faster, and that we can get out there in the public. And then, a year later, competition stealing your designs and parts, and that starts to move into bigger problems. But
it's not just China that steals intellectual property, unfortunately.
No, it's not. But what do you do?
Well, you file lawsuits, which fucking sucks and costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
Very irritating.
I have to get back to you on whether or not we can talk about that yet. But
let's keep it hush-hush until it gets farther down the road, I guess. You said something a minute ago about becoming a big kid company. What does that mean to you?
So I think a big kid company is, the firearm industry is a $30 billion a year industry. And so to me, a big kid company is one that is meeting customer demand. So you're making a profit, right? You're not losing every year.
Yeah.
You're moving into a profit. You're moving into a strategic growth phase. And then you are aligning yourself, or for us, one of the things we did different is we take advice and direction from the shooters, not from the boardroom, right? Like, I don't care what some suit with a computer says. I care about the guys that are running the guns and what that says. And so a big kid company can get out there and promote these events and actually talk to shooters, competitors, law enforcement officers. We've got friends at the unit, friends all over Special Forces that are working these guns and giving us feedback. And that's the stuff we care about. But only because we become a big kid company can we financially do that.
Right. Yeah. That's certainly one of the next steps, I guess. I don't know if these numbers still hold, but the old adage used to be that getting to 1 million was tough, and then getting to 15 million is easy. But then getting after that, it's like, all right, it's tough again, because you go through these 2 to 3 year cap tables. Like, all right, I got to spend this much. Okay, well next year we're taking a loss because we got to build shit. It's just the way it is, and it becomes, politics sometimes plays a role in it when it comes to the gun industry for sure. Because it's usually good because most of the gun stuff that happens is negative, and people always panic buy a bunch of shit, to be honest. So it's not the worst thing in the world, but we've actually won everything lately, and it's starting to stabilize a little bit. Yeah, so I think it's been interesting in the gun community. I don't know how much of this you guys have seen, but most of all, I can't think of any gun stuff that's happened that's been negative in a while. In politics or the judiciary, and still gun sales are going up. There's a lot of new first-time buyers in different communities and shit like that. But you guys make something that's a higher-end weapon. So
we do.
Glock and SIG are probably doing fine, but
Glock and SIG are doing fine. I have a lot of, same as you, you got a lot of bros that go out and they either go work for the Glock Academy or the SIG Academy.
That SIG Academy is pretty dope up there too.
It's pretty legit.
And then you know who built a new one is Smith & Wesson, not too far from where you grew up, actually. It's just right outside of Nashville.
Right.
It's dope as fuck. I've only seen photos, haven't been yet, but I'm gonna head out there sometime soon.
And apparently Barrett's building a pretty badass new facility. Yeah, everybody, cool. Barrett, Henry, all these companies are consolidating, the same as we're consolidating to North Carolina, right? But yeah, I mean, theirs is a quantity over quality, and so we kind of set a hash mark of what we thought phased growth was going to be. And then we had, and I call it the Trump effect at SHOT Show this year. I was like, hey man, success is X number of guns sold at SHOT Show. Well, we blew that out of the water. Money was moving this year between SHOT Show, the buy groups, industry days. Money has been moving, and we have absolutely 10x'd our goal for the year already. And so then, yeah, to your point, now it's okay. Well, I need other bodies, I need other machines, and I need to do all this without having to go back to the bank.
And you're talking about building infrastructure just off net revenue and not debt.
Correct.
I mean, that's certainly one way to go about it. It's a better way than not, because it doesn't technically, over the course of 2 years, it's going to cost you, but over the course of 10, it's going to cost you nothing. Frankly, right? Because they're mostly write-offs at that point.
So the pain is immediate, but the down the road for the company, it's an absolute win. And you talk about, so high-end guns, the sales are different than every gun store sells a Glock.
Yeah.
Every gun store sells a SIG. Not every gun store has a customer that's interested in buying a $2,000 pistol. So our growth, because of the market we're in, our growth isn't this $40 or $50 million Barrett facility or SIG facility. It's just phased growth to what we can do. And I don't, during my tenure, we will never outgrow the hand tuning procedures that we have. And so every gun is hand tuned, custom fit, and we'll never outgrow that. And if that's what the powers to be decide to do later on, then they'll send me packing and do it that way. But
yeah, it's the same with Sons of Liberty. It looks like Santa's workshop in that place. Every gun is hand assembled, micrometers everywhere. I'm like, what the fuck are you guys doing in here? It looks like a fucking meth lab or something.
It does, but isn't it cool when they're all in there nerding out and they're working and they're communicating and solving problems, and you're like, yeah, everybody thinks because you're the guy that you know all the answers, and it's like, hey man, I do strategic growth and spreadsheets. I have a team of badass individuals and builders that really make the company go.
Yeah. Some companies have had big issues scaling their products. SIG was one of them, to be honest. It was a solvable problem, and they've been working to solve it, so fair enough. But that wasn't even the first time. That's the one that got the most press. But one that didn't really get a lot of press back in the day was EOTech. So all these military movies that came out between 2008 and 14 made every slapdick in the U.S. want to get a fucking cool guy gun and put an EOTech on it. And they had some big problems. I don't know if you guys ran into this over at your ODA or anything, but they had some real quality control issues. For a good like year and a half period, there was some stuff. It's like the what do you call it? The reticle would get knocked out, or the glass would be shattered and shit like that.
Glass would shatter,
that
spring.
Is not, the battery, that little God, what the fuck is it called? The part where the battery rests inside of it would burn out too quick, and all kinds of weird shit was happening. It's like, well, these are just substandard parts. That's the only explanation for that, right? So you scaled too quickly. That's what happened.
100%. You scale too quickly, you lose the quality, and that's so we have a guy like our VP, Johnny Moffat, another SF guy.
I know that. Why do I know that name?
You probably know him from around the Bragg area. Big competitive shooter, great dude. Probably could not find a better human being on earth, other than the fact that he's super ugly.
Well, we've all got our challenges, I guess.
Yeah. That is always his crusade is hey, we cannot lose quality. And you can't, right? It was fun in games when these were novelty guns or these were competition guns. But then once departments started picking them up and using them, that changes the game, right? It's hey, this has to be a flawless product, because I'll be damned if some dude's not going to go home to his family because our gun didn't work.
What would you say is different about your guns than anybody else's? Like, what is it that sets you guys apart?
So we were the first company that came up with the fully ambidextrous double stack 1911 model. Before our team did it, it was thought to be a completely impossible task. And yeah, you can see it on some striker fired guns, but the only other hammer fired gun you'll see it on completely copied everything from us. And then the hand tuning, the lapping that goes into it, the magazines kind of made it fun. And then we'll get you out here. We'll get one of the hand grips to you. And the polymer grips are not attractive, but they're extremely functional. And the reason I say that is because it's the same polymer grip, but you can go from a 17-round mag to a 15-round mag back and forth with a single screwdriver, just replacing that plate. So it's completely modular, and the end user's ability to run and do things that he would otherwise have to go buy a bunch of parts for. So you buy our gun, you're going to get 3 to 5, depending on which model you buy, 3 to 5 Magpul magazines in there. You're going to get all the optics plates already in there. And you are pretty well set. We're working on a partnership with G-Code and Neomag, where they will have things that are designed specifically for an end user, and depending on if you buy the right model, it'll come with it. With the thought process being for $2,000, but you're walking home with a gun that's ready to go.
Yeah.
Right? As opposed to a gun where you got to go buy $150 mags and you got to go buy the optics plates, and then if it gets some sand or dirt in there, it's, it doesn't want to run or doesn't want to work.
What's your best product?
Oh man, now we're getting into personal bias here, right? So my duty carry guys and my competition shooters will say that the new Elite is the best product. And it is by far the best metal grip you'll ever put in your hand. I would argue that the Compact Pro is the best gun, because I'm an EDC guy, right? But it's all down to personal preference. Yeah,
I'm not. I've never really been much of I just don't. Competition shooting doesn't interest me, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'd like to shoot. I just don't care about running around. Again, around fucking plastic or whatever the fuck that shit is. Like it reminds me of the outfield fence in my little league or something like that.
Right.
But
you don't like a bunch of made up rules.
Yeah, I'm not interested in any of that shit. Like, oh, you weren't standing in the box. I'm like, oh yeah, does that dead guy care?
Right.
But people have a good time doing it, so good for them. I watch it sometimes because there's some people that are pretty fucking good at that stuff. Actually, JFK used to have the Warfare Center out there used to have shooting competitions all the time, and the local Cumberland cops would show up and they were not good. Maybe they've gotten better. You would think a station that close to a sheriff's department and a police station that close to a military base would be squared away, but
yeah, cops kind of get it bad. And I've got a lot of cop friends.
Yeah, they get no funding or time.
They get no funding, and yet we as a society think that they're going to take that surgical trigger pull as they're coming. Yeah, and it's like, hey man, you didn't fund them, you didn't train them, you didn't do anything, but now you want to fry this dude because he didn't give you the results with the training that you didn't allow him to do.
Yeah, that's wild.
But the competition shooting, I don't do as much of as I did. I used to be big into PRS shooting. But the one thing that competition shooting does do is it absolutely drives innovation.
Oh, yeah.
In the market space.
Yeah, those like flared magwells and stuff like that, which I carry a SIG fuse. Every single one of them comes with a flared magwell now. That's every gun should have that.
Every gun should have it.
If it's just one that you're shooting for fun, I guess, who cares? But if you're carrying it around, that's a good idea to have.
If you're going to do work with it, you need a flared magwell.
Yeah, flat triggers, flare. I mean, all this stuff came as a result of competition shooting.
Bigger, better mag releases, right? Remember the old days of having it with your old Beretta and having to like rechange my hand so I could hit it. And
I mean, I had to. With those stupid Berettas, you basically have to like come like this,
right?
Instead of just like slinging it out. It was very cumbersome, and what happens if you get hit while you're doing that? The gun's on the ground. Like if your guy in the stack runs into the back of you or something like that, it doesn't even have to be an enemy. Some dude just bumps into you, your gun's on the ground. Like, okay, well, this is not great, is it?
100%, and that's it drives the ambidextrous piece of it, right? What happens when you got to go offhand because it's not a competition. You really are in a position where you have to shoot offhand because you took one to the strong armor. I love what competition shooting does. I think that sometimes people get complacent with it and forget that the other direction of the range matters.
Yeah, and then there's there have been some solutions to problems that didn't exist as well. But that's like a spoiler in a Honda. Who cares? You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's all about the marketing.
Yeah, do what you want. I don't care about that. Just don't try to convince me that it's useful or anything. How do you guys decide? You were talking about, so yeah, you can go into any gun store in America and there's a Glock and a SIG. You can find both of those two anywhere in America. How do you guys decide where to sell yours? Or how does that work? I don't really know much about how that works.
You have a professional sales team, and we use distributors. So we specifically Sport South and RSR, Bill Hicks are big distributors, and then we have rep agencies, Duncan Lewis and Donaldson's, and they have their respective parts of the country, and that's kind of on them. That's what you pay them for. That's how they get their commissions, right? And then our team will either go stop by random stores or follow up and massage those relationships. The best thing that we have done from a sales point of view is we have a team called Johnny and his team, the Goon Squad. And so the Goon Squad will go to the stores and do training for the employees there. This is what the gun's about. This is why it's different. This is why we're the more rad, badass gun on the planet right now. And so once they understand, they're better able to sell it.
Well, who are your competitors? If you had to put yourself in a class, because obviously it's not Glock or SIG.
No, it's not Glock or SIG. I would say within the double stack 1911 world, I would say that Atlas is the top of the pyramid. And anybody who says they're not is full of shit. They make a phenomenal weapon system. That's who we're chasing. I want to give the end user a Atlas quality product, but instead of $5,000, I want you to be at the $2,500 to $3,000 range, right? Like, the Atlas is good, but is it $5,000 better? We really wanted to fill the market void where we were priced under anybody else in the 2011 or double stack 1911 world, and the market pushed this competition with Staccato, and it was fun for a while. But you ever been to, like, you're getting ready to get in a fight and you're amped up because this dude's supposed to be able to fight, and then he sucks, you hit him with a 1-2 and it's over? Yeah, that was kind of that fight. They had a lot of self-inflicted wounds and a lot of internal issues, purportedly, that have plagued them. So that's gone down. But yeah, I would say my competition right now, who I look at, is Atlas, our masterpiece, and trying to chase and get up on the same level field that they're on. We're not there yet, but we're coming hard.
I mean, is it all custom for them?
Yeah.
They don't do anything that's just out of the box, I don't think. But neither do you guys, technically.
No, technically ours are all still hand-tuned, hand-lapped, fitted. You know, when we come off the line, that block of steel gets mated or gets turned into a slide frame and grip and a barrel. And that is all matched before it ever goes out for coating. So what you'll see, whereas like if you look at your AR, you've got one serial number on the lower receiver. If you look at one of our guns, when we get it in your hands, the frame, the slide, the barrel all have that number in there. And it's because they're born together, they're matched together, and they go all the way through production together.
Yeah, the difference, I suppose, is that they don't cost $10,000 when you put all the bells and whistles on. Right. Because that's about, if you max out Atlas's top model, it's somewhere around $10K, I think.
Yeah.
Which is, it's still all custom and high end, and as you say, you guys are chasing them. What do you think the distance is between you guys? Not the length or anything like that, but what are they doing better than you guys right now?
Their brand awareness is better. They are smoother and more consistent. So for us, especially as a young company, consistency is the big key, right? Like, hey man, how do we control these little bitty things that you don't even realize are a thing? Yeah.
Well, when you're small, every product you sell is an advertisement.
Every product matters.
Like literally every one of them. So.
And then, but I would say, so we have new triggers out. They're not completely out, right? So the whole world hasn't necessarily seen them, but they're out in the elites, and I've got some in mind. Those triggers I would put up against theirs. I would put our new metal grip up against theirs, and say that those pieces are on par. What I'm looking for from us would be not just the consistency, but the team that is going to ride or die with this product. Atlas doesn't make a whole lot of guns. Obviously at that price point and at that notoriety, they get to do what they want. Yeah. Whereas whether it's a Staccato, a 2311, or an Atlas, the price point to produce them there's not a whole lot of difference in there, right? What we have done is we take it out of our end. That's why we're cheaper.
What about Wilson Combat? They're in that same range,
they're
right?
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Right. Like my first competition, 1911, was all Wilson Combat parts. And I would put them up there. I mean, you talk about a brand that has staying power.
Oh, yeah.
And people don't necessarily think about that, but when you're running a company, like, that's some staying power. That's some brand recognition that I would love us to have.
Yeah, no shit.
But that comes with time.
Yeah. They've been were they the first to make that high-end competition gun?
They really were.
Honest, I can't remember.
At least the first one I know of.
Yeah, they were the first one I ever heard of, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Because there were some other, like Glock Sig, $500. Then there was like the $1,500 gun. Mm-hmm. And there was a bunch of different variations of that. But as far as like a real investment in a competition gun, I can't remember anybody before them that did that.
I can't either. And they came out, and then like roughly Para Ordnance.
Yeah, Para was around for a good
came
bit.
out about the same time. Kimber kind of stepped it up at that point.
Yeah, Kimber was that mid-range, like $1,500. And they started producing a little bit more quality, but I don't know if they're even doing that anymore, to be honest.
They came out with a double stack 1911 this past SHOT Show. I haven't honestly heard a whole lot about it. I shot it. It was nice. I don't have anything bad to say about it, but I haven't really seen it out and about since.
Yeah, maybe that could have been a demo model, to be honest, that they're not ready to produce yet or that they're getting ramped up for.
Sure.
Speaking of that, what do you guys got coming down the pipe?
Man, now we're getting into the secret sauce, right? So we teamed up with Forey J. Smith, who plays Lloyd on Yellowstone, and we are doing a all steel model. We're developing it with him, and those proceeds are going to go to Shriners Children's Hospital and Kids to Love, which is an orphanage down in Alabama.
Okay.
But that would be our new big one, and then our new trigger systems are a game changer for us.
Are these drop-ins or?
Yeah, they're they'll be stoned out to perfection, so they're hand stoned, and then we will, like, if a guy already has a 2311, he's like, hey man, I want that more awesome trigger. We'll get him squared away. But eventually there will come a point, unless it's a specific LE gun, then it'll come with that trigger in there. LE's just got the 4.5 pound requirement.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So law enforcement has a trigger requirement of 4.5 pounds. That's why, like, in our early models, people are like, "Oh my God, it's a heavy trigger." It's like, well, because it was designed for that requirement. But what I plan to do is ship those LE guns with the LE trigger, and then have the skeleton trigger, in a bag right underneath it.
Yeah.
You do what you want to do.
Yeah. I didn't know that was a requirement for law enforcement.
Yeah.
Also, why?
I don't understand the why. I think
that sounds like a good idea fairy thing. Like,
yeah.
well, if we make the triggers hevier, then people won't ND. Like, well, just train them better and they won't ND.
They won't ND.
You know
but,
what I mean?
The ability to miss is greatly increased the heavier that trigger gets.
Yeah. I mean, that's a fact, especially on the first shot. I mean, what the
100%.
fuck, man? What the hell?
I think it goes back to legislators that don't know anything about guns.
In their fucking lives.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. I'm not going to get into it. Did you see Christy Noem holding that fucking rifle the other day? What are you doing? Stop. My buddy Jack Mandeville, he's a comedian. He's like, with all these veterans around, can't the federal government hire people that are veterans to show politicians how to hold guns so they don't look like assholes?
They're scared of us.
Yeah.
Right? Like we've all got the plague or something. They're scared to death of us. And her redeeming quality is she's nice to look at.
Yeah, I just, like, there's no way that's the way she was.
Right. But some dude on her detail should have gone up and said, hey, ma'am.
Yeah, don't take this picture. What are you doing?
Yeah, hold it like this.
Jesus Christ. I mean, she grew up hunting, so she knows how to hold a hunting rifle for sure. I don't get it.
I think, and those pictures are staged too, right? So why didn't somebody go up there and fix her?
I don't know.
And then you run into, you have all these ridiculous organizations that are just looking for a reason to sue you. When I first took over the company, I was talking to some officers, and I was like, "Hey, man, you do this." They're like, "We're in an officer-involved shooting. They, the state confiscates our gun till the end of the investigation." I'm like, "Yeah, we'll replace your gun." I was like, "And if you shoot a pedo, I'll give you a free gun."
Yeah.
And they're, the team's like, "Hey, you can't say that. You can't say that." And I was like, "Well, why not?"
Yeah,
and they're like, "Oh, because one of these libtard organizations will." They don't align with us, and they'll bring in the lawsuits. And it's like, hey man, like, as a basic core function, can't we as a society agree that our most precious asset is our children and they should be protected at all costs?
Yeah, and that's pretty low hanging fruit, to be honest. If you can't get on board with that, you got to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, you don't have to be a rocket surgeon to agree that we have to protect our children.
You can either use your legs to get out of here, or somebody will carry you. That's how
right.
that goes. Fuck you. Like there can be no negotiation.
I have no tolerance for that, and whether official or unofficial, that policy probably still stands. But I would love to see just a world where we got back to common sense.
Yeah, that wouldn't that be something? Because right now we don't have a right and a left. We just have some weird coalition of people that are just like, well, we can't do all this woke, retarded nonsense anymore. But they don't agree on everything politically. And then there's just the lunatic side. Well, we need a right and a left. Just like you need mom and dad, man. That's just how fucking life works.
100%.
Life is very binary in that way. You need protection and you need empathy, and you need it to come from the people that it's supposed to be coming from, not people who are pretending to be those people.
100%.
So at some point, I'm hoping in the next decade or two, a new right and left will develop out of this new coalition of just reasonable people, and we can go back to being normal human beings again instead of debating what a fucking woman is, because I've had it. I can't do it anymore.
It's nonsense, and it takes away from the way. So, which goes back to values, right? So we either agree or disagree that there's a God, right? And if we don't agree on that, there's really not much else to talk about. We either agree or disagree that your family is your most precious and valuable asset. And then we either agree or disagree that everybody should have freedom.
Yeah.
For all of its goodness and all of its badness, right? You want to prance around and dress like a freaking raccoon and call yourself a they, that.
Yeah, I don't give a shit.
Yeah, go do you.
Yeah.
But you can't impugn my freedoms and say that I have to call you that or I have to agree with that, because you'll look like an idiot.
Yeah.
And simultaneously, if you're going to get up in you have the freedom to get in somebody's face and yell and scream, but you're not immune to the consequences of that, and stupid hurts.
It should be painful. The reality is that most normal people agree on about 80% of things, and then there's some minor differences down the road. Whether you're religious or not, I think it's become very clear to people that shared values are very important to the sustainment of a civilization, and if you don't figure out a way to do that, then you're fucked, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, it just won't work. We're kind of in a transitory period right now where we're figuring out how we're going to handle that situation, so it'll be interesting to see how it goes. We need some leadership for sure, but it tends to spring up when you need it. That's kind of how things work. So yeah. I'm hopeful. I'm a hopeful guy. And looking forward to seeing how this all develops. Looking forward to seeing how all your new secret gun shit that's going to come
Appreciate
out.
it.
I've shot some of your guns. I've never owned one though, so probably have to look into that at some point.
I got a guy.
Yeah, you may know a guy. Yeah. Well, thanks for coming today. I appreciate the time.
I appreciate you having me.
Yeah. Tell everybody where they can find you and find the company and any information, like if you guys got media.
I would say your two best bets are on Instagram, OA.defense, not OA Defense, because that's some clown show troll, but OA.defense on Instagram, and then www.oadefense.com. Get on there, ask questions. Believe it or not, half the time you're in those group chats asking questions, it's likely me that's responding, because we do value the end user more than anything else.
Oh, yeah. Well, thanks for coming in today. I really appreciate the time. Love the products, your attitude, all that.
I appreciate you having me, man. It's a good time.
Yeah, anytime. And thank you all for listening. This has been Citizen.